Breitbart News on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
Now on the line with me, very honored to be joined by Governor Mike Huckabee, candidate for president 2016, as well as a former governor of Arkansas, and so much more. One thing that I'm planning to ask all of the candidates who will come on the show, and all of them won't, but so many of them will. I want to ask about American values, and I'm going to ask you what your concept of American values are and how we do a better job selling them. And the reason why is because at Breitbart News, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, Governor, that our focus, among other issues, and we are a comprehensive site and we cover all sorts of different things, sports and Hollywood and national security, but the one thing that's dominated over the last year to year and a half has been this issue of immigration. And I've become more convinced as I've followed the news that the bottom line is that much of this country, a good portion of the Republican Party and all of the Democratic Party, just have completely lost the concept of American values and American exceptionalism. And they're willing to bring as many people as possible in who will vote for them or be cheap labor for their companies, even if they are not interested in really being a part of the American dream and assimilating to those core American values. So again, the question I have is, what is American values to you, and what do you plan to do in the campaign trail to articulate that to the voters?
Well, American values can be summed up in the language of the Declaration of Independence, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all of us are created equal, we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So if you really want to sum it up, it's the idea that we play fair, that we're equal. Nobody's better than someone, no one's worse than someone, which also means everybody plays by the same rules. We are a nation of law, not a nation of emotions, men, money, power. We're a nation of law, and that is the equalizing force. It's not our last name or how much land we own or how much we have in our bank account. It's that our worth and our value comes from a higher source than even government, comes from God. That's the fundamental American value. From that, all the other values are added. Liberty, the capacity to do as we wish as long as it doesn't infringe on someone else's liberty. Of course, the beginning of that is life, which means that we value every human. We don't devalue someone as less than others. And then the pursuit of happiness, which doesn't mean we're guaranteed an outcome. It just means we're guaranteed the opportunity to at least get at the start line, and then it's up to us to run the race. If we win, congratulations, we get the rewards. If we fail and we stumble, then, you know what? That's too bad. Nobody's going to pick us up and bail us out because that's the way life works.
My guest again, Governor Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas, presidential candidate for 2016. I'm Alex Marlow on Breitbart News Saturday edition on the Sirius XM Patriot channel. Governor, let's get into a couple of the headlines. One of the things you mentioned in terms of your list of American values is the value of life, and a good one indeed. But the United States government still funds Planned Parenthood. We learn not only are they an abortion mill, the abortion industry, responsible for tens of millions of abortions over the past however many decades, but we know that they're getting their pockets lined from the sale of fetal tissue that we learned about with these blockbuster videos. I'm told from my sources that there are many more to come. That saga is not ending anytime soon, but they get literally hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. Why is the United States still funding this fundamental attack on the value of life?
Because Democrats get a lot of money from the pro-abortionists, and Republicans haven't had the guts to stand up for the things that really are fundamental to our value system. And it's time that we do. I've certainly called for the defunding of Planned Parenthood for years. The fact that they get between $500 and $540 million of taxpayer money is really a disgrace. But, Alex, I also think it's time for us to step beyond simply saying, let's defund some horrible, hideous, disgusting organization like Planned Parenthood that chops up babies and sells the parts like parts of a Buick. Let's get to the heart of this. We as a country need to come to grips with the 42-year nightmare of taking babies' lives in their mother's womb needs to come to an end. We need to be a civilized country. Maybe in 1973 there was some debate as to when life began. There isn't anymore. The science on this is now settled. Because of DNA and the genome, because of the advancements in sonograms, we know when life begins. It begins at conception. And I believe, as president, it would be my duty to invoke both the Fifth and the 14th Amendments and to recognize that the government should be protecting human life from conception, not trying to figure out ways to fund those who would take that innocent life and sell it for a profit.
Excellent response, Governor Huckabee. Let's move on to the issue of immigration. We've spent so much time on this show in particular, but all over the media, discussing what to do about illegal aliens. But what will you do as president for the American worker?
Well, the first thing, seal the border, because if you don't do that, it's like having a pipe burst in your kitchen and you rush to Home Depot to get a new sink rather than stop the leak. So the first thing is you have to get in control of the problem, which is an open, porous border. But then we need to recognize that the current way in which we have allowed illegals to come is not just because we've allowed the borders to be open, it's because big business, and that translates into big political donors, have made sure that nothing ever gets done. Why? Because they make a lot of money off illegal immigration. I'm a fair tax supporter, which is a tax on consumption, not our income and our work. And one of the ways to transform the illegal immigration issue is take away the economic advantage of being illegal. You do that with a consumption tax. Because right now, not only illegals, but prostitutes, pimps, gamblers, drug dealers, they don't pay the taxes that you and I pay because they don't report their income. And their employer is not paying the employer tax. So both on the employee and the employer side, there's an advantage to illegal immigration. If you take that financial part of that away and make it so that there is no advantage, you're going to see Americans start going back to work. And part of the reason we need to do it is not only for the fact that it's unfair to American workers. Alex, we don't talk about this, but I had a legal immigrant come up to me the other day at a campaign event, and he said, look, I'm here legally, and I resent illegal immigration because I've spent years playing by the rules, going through all the process, and it really makes me mad when someone just comes and cuts in line, given all that I did in time and money to become a legal citizen of this country.
It's a very important point you're making, that it is a penalty to be a legal immigrant or to be an American citizen relative to the illegal aliens. I believe we have time for one or two more questions. I want to ask you a broad one about national security. Two big headlines. One overall, the Iran deal. What do you think? And then also a headline ripped out of the pages from this morning. Two more Guantanamo Bay detainees previously released, arrested, making a terror plot in Belgium. Today, this president and his foreign policy. Your comments?
This president's foreign policy is the most feckless in American history. He's so naive, he would trust the Iranians, and he would take the Israelis and basically march them to the door of the oven. This is the most hideous thing. This Iran deal should be rejected by both Democrats and Republicans in Congress and by the American people. I think we forget that the Iranians have never kept a deal in 36 years under the Ayatollah. There's no reason to think that they'll suddenly start doing it. I read the entire thing. We gave away the whole farm. It's got to be stopped. Let me then segue. You talked about Guantanamo. I went there when I was governor. I saw Guantanamo. I took my prison director with me. We came away saying, my gosh, I hope none of our inmates ever sees this place. They'll all want to transfer. We have spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars, Alex, making this one of the most secure. But I also will tell you, one of the nicest prisons, if prisons can be nice, this is the Ritz-Carlton. And to pretend that it's not valuable to us in keeping people that we really need to be afraid of, that's crazy. There's some people we need to be afraid of, and the release of these who continue to show back up as terrorists ought to remind us that these people don't change. They didn't take a study course and decide to become welders. They're still terrorists. They're going to be terrorists until we kill them. And it's simple as that. And we might as well quit kidding ourselves to any other outcome.
Again, this has been Alex Marlow speaking with Governor Mike Huckabee on the Breitbart News Saturday program on Sirius XM Patriot number 125. Governor, hopefully you will come back and we can get into more of the nitty-gritty as the campaign goes on. We have about 30 seconds left on the program. In a nutshell, why are you running for the President of the United States?
Because I think it's time for someone to lead this country who has actually governed and done it successfully, that's done it under the toughest of conditions, which I did, fighting the Bill and Hillary Clinton political machine of Arkansas, and yet who knows how to get results and work with people who don't necessarily want to work with you. We need that kind of leadership. We need that kind of moral clarity, and I'm prepared and ready to take on the task.
If you missed any of Breitbart News, check out SiriusXM.com/on-demand.